We have a two-part agenda. The first part this evening will deal with the approval of our 2020 annual budget, and the second part will be our regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners for the month of December, which will be our last meeting for 2019. If you'd all please, first I'll start with ask our Township Manager and Secretary Dave Berman to please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio. Here. Mr. Oliva. Here. Mr. McCluskey.
Here.
Mr. Siegel. Here. Mr. McGarity.
Here.
Dr. Hart.
Here.
Mr. Wexler.
Here.
Mr. Holmes. Here. And Mr. Lewis.
Here, thank you. Please rise and join our chief in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Chief. We have a number of proclamations this evening. 3 Eagle Scouts. Exciting. The first to be awarded tonight is to Connor Joseph Dodell, attaining the rank of Eagle Scout, and that proclamation will be presented by 2nd Ward Commissioner Mary Oliva and 9th Ward Commissioner Bill Wexler.
You want to read it? Or you want to? No, you We missed your last month. It's always a pleasure to give a proclamation out to a young man. It's an Eagle Scout. It's quite an accomplishment. It's my first, I'm embarrassed to say, my first dealings with guys and finding out how hard it was to become an Eagle Scout was my plebe year at West Point, when I found out that 30% of my class had attained that rank, and I didn't even know really what it was and about to do that. So, and that was, well, I've been out of there 40-some years ago, so it was a while ago. But it's an honor to be able to do that. Connor did the work in the 9th Ward, and I guess you now live in the 2nd Ward. So without further ado, I'll read the proclamation and our formal recognition of what Connor has done. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford, County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, takes great pleasure in acknowledging notable achievements of young adults in the community, and whereas the Board of Commissioners wish to applaud Connor Joseph Dowdell of the Boy Scouts of America, Troop 434, Lanark section of Havertown, sponsored by the Lanark Presbyterian Church, for attaining the rank of Eagle Scout and completing his Eagle Scout project. Whereas Connor started in our troop in September of 2013 for 3 years and rejoined again in September of 2018, he has served as patrol leader and instructor, helping and advising younger scouts. He completed 21 merit badges, more than 26 nights of camping, and more than 37 service hours during his time with the troop. He was elected and active in the Order of the Arrow, which serves as the honor society for the Boy Scouts of America. He completed his Eagle Service Project on December 8, 2018, and earned the prestigious rank of Eagle Scout on July 25, 2019. And whereas Connor's Eagle Scout project was to refurbish and replace numerous baseball dugout roofs in Hilltop Field, and whereas Connor is a kind, thoughtful, and helpful young man who inspires other scouts, he is a great role model and will undoubtedly have a positive impact on the lives of others in the future. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford, County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, that said Board of Commissioners hereby congratulates Connor Joseph Dowdell for your many contributions to your community, with your long hours and dedicated work. Our blessings go forth with you as you face new opportunities and challenges in the rest of your life. Proclaimed this 12th day of November, 2019, Township Haverford Board of Commissioners, Andy Lewis, President. Great job. Connor, congratulations. Are your parents here? Yeah. Come on up, grab a picture with you. Let's move over a little bit. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
The next proclamation this evening is to Tyler Thomas Hamilton, again, attaining the rank of Eagle Scout. And to make that presentation or proclamation is First Ward Commissioner Steve D'Amelio.
Nice to meet you. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford, County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, takes great pleasure in acknowledging notable achievements of young adults in the community, and whereas the Board of Commissioners wishes to applaud Tyler Thomas Hamilton of the Boy Scouts of America for earning the rank of Eagle Scout, and whereas Tyler Thomas Hamilton has earned the rank of Eagle Scout, Tyler resides in the First Ward of Haverford Township. He started scouting as a Tiger Cub in Cub Scouts in first grade, and in 2007, and whereas Tyler's Eagle project involved replacing a bridge extension that washed away from a storm at a hiking trail for a senior living home. He did this by building a 5-foot extension to an existing bridge and directing and leading his fellow scouts through the process. And whereas he continued up the ranks, Tyler is also a Brotherhood member of Order of the Arrow and served as the Order of the Arrow troop representative and a patrol leader. Tyler has always shown an interest in helping others at a young age and through scouting, first aid. From that interest, Tyler attended VOTEC for Emergency Protective Services. He is in training to be a nationally certified MET and has been a junior volunteer firefighter, as currently nationally certified volunteer firefighter for Oakmont Fire Company in our hometown. His scouting way of life has also given him the perseverance, dedication, and discipline to earn his second-degree black belt. Wow. I'll mess with him tonight. Hope he doesn't get upset at anything on the agenda. And whereas Tyler has demonstrated that he has proved himself for a productive and meaningful role in society. His exemplary performance in scouting is very deserving of recognition. And therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford, County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, that said Board of Commissioners hereby acknowledges and congratulates you for your many contributions to your community with your long hours and dedicated work. Our blessings go with you as you face new challenges. Proclaimed this 9th day of December 2019, Township of Haverford Board of Commissioners, Andy Lewis, President. Tyler, congratulations. Get a picture of him with your parents. You hold that. Hey, parents? All right? Go this way. Congratulations. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Congratulations. Our third proclamation this evening is to Benjamin Cates, attaining again the rank of Eagle Scout. And to present that proclamation is Third Ward Commissioner Kevin McCluskey.
We have a lot of highly qualified young kids here tonight. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford, County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, take great pleasure in acknowledging notable achievements of young adults in the community, and whereas the Board of Commissioners wish to applaud Benjamin Cates of the Boy Scouts of America for earning the rank of Eagle Scout, and whereas Benjamin Cates has earned the rank of Eagle Scout. Ben resides in the 3rd Ward of Haverford Township. Ben started scouting in first grade as a Tiger Cub Scout and worked his way up the rank. He achieved his Eagle rank at the young age of 15 years old, and whereas Ben is a Brotherhood member of the Order of the Arrow, he successfully was responsible with the positions of the quartermaster for 2 years and a patrol leader. And whereas Ben's Eagle project involved refurbishing an elder's care shed in Lower Merion. Ben was responsible for replacing some of the wood and painting the shed, along with cleanup of the grass and weeds around the area. Ben led his fellow scouts through delegating and supervising the tasks of cleaning the area, installing new wood pieces, and painting the shed. And whereas Ben is an avid ice hockey player for 10 years, his dedication, commitment, and discipline and passion to playing is shown. These qualities are certainly a scouting way of life. Ben's accomplishments and dedication are very deserving of recognition. Now therefore be it proclaimed, the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford, County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, that said Board of Commissioners hereby acknowledges and congratulates you for your many contributions to your community with long hours and dedicated work. Our blessings go with you as you face new challenges. Proclaim this 9th day of December, 2019, Township of Haverford Board of Commissioners, Andy Lewis, President. I think his dad's here.
Congratulations. Thank you. I have the honor of presenting this next proclamation to our own 7th Ward Commissioner Jim McGarity, who is retiring after 7 terms, 28 years. I don't know where that stands in the record book, but it's probably up there in terms of seniority. And I've asked to join me in this proclamation some of his former colleagues who served with him during those 28 years, or off and on during those 28 years, and probably know him as well as anybody. I've asked Ken Richardson, who was former president of the board and also 8th Ward Commissioner, Chris Connell, also former president and 8th Ward Commissioner, Tony Ercoli, the 6th Ward Commissioner, and Rob Trumbull, unfortunately couldn't be here tonight personally, but he's asked Commissioner Kevin McCluskey to make some remarks on his behalf. So if you could all join me at the podium for this presentation to Commissioner McGarity. You don't get to go first, Jimmy. Okay, Except we have open mic for you. It's an honor for me to present this proclamation on behalf of the Township of Haverford to someone who has dedicated so much to this township over the course of the last 28 years. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford, County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, wish to recognize and honor James E. McGarity upon his retirement as 7th Ward Commissioner. Whereas James McGarity, often referred to as either Commissioner, C7, Jim, Jimmy, and to little ones, the Candy Man, that was a new one for me, Jimmy, has resided in Haverford Township all his life, employed by Red Arrow SEPTA for 33 years, has served 28 years as president of the board of directors of the Forge Credit Union, served 20 years on the board of directors of the Brookline Fire Company. And whereas Jim, elected in 1992, has faithfully served the last 28 years as commissioner and has either chaired or co-chaired many committees during his tenure: Public Works, Health Advisory Board, the Grange Estate, Ward Redistricting, and the Senior Citizens Advisory Board, and the Republican State Committee. Along with Tim Denny, he was the voice of the Haverford Township Day Parade for 25 years. As Vice President of the Board of Commissioners, Jim, along with President Commissioner Ken Richardson and others, were instrumental in the finalization of the purchase of the Haverford State Hospital property, now the Haverford Reserve, home of the CREC. Also was instrumental in the development of the Stadium facility and served on the Park Board for 19 years. And whereas Jim always 24/7 for Haverford Township, one could find Jim riding around the 7th Ward at 5 a.m., inspecting his ward to provide his constituents with the best service they come to expect from Haverford Township. And whereas on a personal level, Jim is especially devoted to his wife, Fran. His better half, as we all know, has become a household name being heard many times during our commissioners' meetings. His 3 children, Flossie, Jim, Michael, 9 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren, and his friends. A few of Jim's past times are playing softball, watching wrestling, and the Philadelphia Phillies, and donating to the casino. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford that you, Commissioner Jim McGarity, has served this township well will leave many memories in the hearts of your Haverford Township family, and our blessings go with you as you enter into your well-deserved retirement, proclaimed this 9th day of December 2019 by the Haverford Township Board of Commissioners. Congratulations, Jimmy. So, Jimmy, if you're looking for something to do at 5 a.m., you're welcome to go through the 5th Ward and make a punch list for me. And also, I advise you not to fully retire for Fran's sanity. So we have to keep her sane, right?
Well, we got to go to the Grange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So congratulations. I'd like to present this proclamation to you, and along with this clock, which reads, to Jim McGarity, Haverford Township 7th Ward Commissioner, thank you for your 28 years of service, 12/9/19. Congratulations again, Jimmy. We have open mic. We want to save you for last. Is that all right? There's some other people that want to make some remarks.
Oh,
Okay.
sure. Let me, I'll take this with me, save the best for that. Okay, that's okay with me, because, I'm shy with the mic, so I'll be back.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of serving with Jim on the board for about 10 years. And this current board has the good fortune of working with the cool, calm, collected version of Commissioner McGarity. Prior to becoming commissioner, Jim and I were good friends, and during our time together on the board, we were good friends. And today we remain good friends. I guess we were BFFs before anybody knew what a BFF was. There's a reason that Jim has been reelected 6 times, and that's because he's a man of action, word, and deed. Jim tells it like it is. You always know where he stands on an issue. Jim may be retiring as commissioner, but I can guarantee you that he's not retiring from being an active advocate for all of our communities. Jim, I thank you for your service to our community. And Fran, I thank you for sharing Jim with us for all those years. You two are truly one of Haverford Township dynamic duos. I love you both.
Thanks.
Jimmy and I go way back. I first met Jimmy when he was driving the Red Arrow with the bullet cars. I don't know how long ago that was, but it seems like an eternity.
Back 30-some years.
Yeah, so I've known Jimmy a long time, but Jimmy, thank you for all your years, and I really want to thank someone even more, your wife, for putting up with it. She deserves another round.
Good evening. Chris Connell, one of Jimmy's colleagues. Probably one of the things that I found out with Jimmy quickly is that, like everybody here probably knows, that he's a fighter. And sometimes people look at that on the outside and say, well, he's a fighter, and sometimes he's too aggressive. But the thing is, he's a fighter because of the way his heart is. He's just loves the community and the people in it so much that he has the passion to fight for them when they need a fighter. If they can't stand up, or they're afraid to, or they don't know how to put it, you can guarantee that Jim McGarity will do that. He's very sincere to his people, to his family, to his friends, to all of us. When I was a kid, going back to the P&W, the Pig and Whistle, we used to work when I was in middle school. We used to work up to Villanova University, busboys, after school. And we'd pick up the train down at the Brookline Beechwood Station and take it up to Villanova. Well, if at that time, Mr. McGarity, as we got on the train, Mr. McGarity would put his hand up on the coin machine and say, as long as you boys are working, you don't have to put any money in my machine here. So, you know what, and that really, you know, I remembered that all through the years. There's the guy, you know, it made me feel like a senior citizen. I didn't have to pay. Thanks. Ahead of my time. But that's how sincere he was to the community. So what I take away from Jim's friendship is that, yep, he is the Jimmy Cagney of Haverford Township Board of Commissioners. He's a fighter. But I'll tell you, he has the heart of gold and the passion to continue to do it for as long as he's breathing. And you're the only one that gets away with calling me Chrissy. So, good job.
So I'm not quite a former commissioner yet, but Rob Trumbull did ask me to pass on his best wishes, and he apologized for not making it. I want to wish you luck personally, and certainly wish luck to Mrs. McGarity, now that you're going to have a lot of stuff around the house to make up for those 5 a.m. trips. Rob Trumbull regrets that he couldn't make it tonight. He wishes you the very best, apologizes that he could not attend your last meeting. He's pleased to work with you in terms of pursuing the Haverford Reserve. Obtaining the state hospital and its lasting tenure in Haverford Township was the best time of his time on the board, and he's sure it's also yours, and he appreciated working with you. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
I would like to thank the previous 3 speakers and also Rob Trumbull for their kind words. I appreciate them very much. I have to tell you, I get up before this microphone and I do become a little shy. And sometimes I get a little bit teary, okay? So if it happens, I'm just going to tell you now, I will get through this no matter what. I did a eulogy not too long ago for a friend of Tony's, Wilbur Clevens, and I had a tough time getting through that, but this is a lot easier because of so many kind people that are here. And anyway, I better start with my speech, which this young lady certainly helped me out with, because I wouldn't get 2 words together right. She does it all. Tonight is my last meeting as I will attend as 7th Ward Commissioner. I want to thank the constituents of the 7th Ward for placing their trust in me for the past 28 years of faithful support. And to my family who put up with me all the time away from them, running out the door concerning constituent issues and attending many meetings. I have worked with so many wonderful people over the years who do their very best to serve this community. We commissioners are the face of Haverford Township. It is each of you in the township building, in the police department, the men at the yard, and our volunteer firefighters and paramedics who work to protect and serve every day. And they come to work to make this township a great place to live and raise a family. But the hardest part about retiring is leaving this great Haverford Township family. That's where I choke up a little. And you all are family to me. It has been in my honor and privilege and joy, well, most of the time, to serve this great community. And I will sincerely miss each and every one of you. Thank you, and God bless you all.
We're just going to pause briefly for some photos, and then following that, there's some cake out there for anyone who would like to partake in some cake. We're going to continue with our meeting and have our cake a little later, hopefully before the start of the Eagles game. So we're gonna take a few pictures, so if anybody wants to leave, you'll have the opportunity to do so now. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Going to reconvene the meeting. And the third proclamation this evening is the Bureau of Fire recipient of award, recruitment and retention. And this is a national award that is issued by the International Association of Fire Chiefs. So this is a significant recognition on the behalf of Haverford Township. And to make this award and proclamation is our own Chief John Viola, who this also happens to be chief of Brookline Fire Company. He's chief of everything, it seems. And he's here to present this to our 5 fire companies. So, Chief.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And
Commissioner
congratulations.
McGarity, on behalf of the Haverford Township Bureau of Fire, we congratulate you on your retirement, and you've always supported the volunteer fire company, so we certainly appreciate it. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome. So, gentlemen, with me tonight, I have Chief Bill Hatton from Oakmont Fire Company, Chuck Katz, who's a committee rep from Oakmont Fire Company, Frank Hand, who's a committee rep from Oakmont Fire Company, Assistant Chief Jonathan Rothrock from Lanark, Chris Connell is here somewhere, was here. He's also on the committee. Deputy Chief Mark Sweeney for Brookline, Lieutenant Jerry McCabe, who's a committee rep, Deputy Chief Andy Sivek from Bonaire, Chief Mike Norman Jr., and Assistant Chief Mike Norman Sr. On April 28, 2015, the Haverford Township Bureau of Fire authorized a recruitment and retention committee. This committee initially started in the Oakmont Fire Company. It was their idea, and it traveled down, and the Bureau of Fire adopted it. So the Haverford Township Bureau of Fire was recently recognized by the Volunteer Combination Officer Section of the International Association of Fire Chiefs for their efforts in recruitment and retention. This award recognizes success and excellence in the retention and recruitment of emergency services organizations, membership, and further recognizes those individuals for the innovative ideas, outstanding achievements, and accomplishments in retaining volunteer fire service for our community. The process consisted of nominations and peer reviews of all the nominated fire departments from across the country, which was over 30 fire departments. The winner is then selected, and then the Volunteer Fire Insurance Company from the Arthur Gladfelder Agency is the sponsor of the award and recognition. This award is then presented at the annual conference of VCOS section with over 750 attendees present. I was there with Chief Hatton and Chris Connell to accept the award on behalf of the Haverford Township Bureau of Fire. So this is quite an achievement for the Bureau of Fire, for the Haverford Township Volunteer Fire Companies. And I'm sure we've all read in the newspaper how volunteers are suffering throughout the Commonwealth. We suffer just not quite as bad, but we're always scrambling for members. But this is a great idea to help retain our members and to recruit new members. All these people standing behind me and every volunteer fire company in Haverford Township should be applauded for the work that they do every day without any payment of any kind. So we're a 100% volunteer fire company. So commissioners, the chiefs of the fire companies, and the recruitment and retention committee. Thank you.
John, can I just say, John, in my years, I've lived in Haverford Township 75 years, but my 50 years being involved in politics, basically, it's been all volunteer fire companies all those years, and I tell you, they do a great job. Brookline, Oakmont, Bonaire, Lanark, and Manoa, they do a great job. They're all volunteers. So anybody out there that thinks any of these men or women get paid for what they do not. They volunteer their time. They go out to the different fires, whether it be at 5 in the morning or 5 at night, and they're there to protect us. And please remember that when the firemen send out their dues drive, though that money doesn't go to them, it goes to the fire company, so therefore they can better all the things they have going for them at the fire company, such as the fire equipment and things like that. All these things, these young men go out to the fire towers over the weekend and work and perform. So please remember what they do. And the bottom line is this: they're all doing it at the graciousness of their hearts. They love what they're doing, but they do it at the graciousness of their hearts. They're not doing it to make a dime. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. There's no ladies tonight, but we have a few that are involved. And I thank you very much for all you've done, and God bless you.
Thank you, Commissioner. On January 14th, we'll have our public recognition ceremony at the CREC. Most of the commissioners should be there, and the township manager and the volunteer fire companies. And the public is always invited also to stand and watch the award recognition. Thank you, commissioners.
Congratulations, Chief, and we'll see. Thank you so much for this. Picture, Chief? Do you want a picture, Chief?
I do, it's downstairs. I should have brought it up.
John, do you want a picture? Or
Pictures, John?
Picture or not?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Do it outside? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Billy.
Okay. I'm going to ask the board if we could to move up one agenda item. It's agenda item number 20. It's a contract awards for Brookline School demolition. I know some people are here tonight to discuss this, and I think we'd like to deal with this up front. So if the board would agree, could I have a motion to move this agenda item up?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wexler.
Second.
By Commissioner Holmes. Any discussion or questions?
Just a question of when we are tabling it to. I don't want to table it for a month.
Well, that's undetermined, so. Anyway, any questions or discussion? All in favor of the motion of moving this agenda item up, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Ayes carried. Okay, so contract awards, item number 20. Can we have the motion and then second, and then have a discussion or a table?
Motion to table.
You want to present it first? Yeah.
Yeah, all right, so, Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we, sorry, I gotta find it. I move that we award the demolition of former Brookline Elementary School to Empire Dismantlement Corporation, Grand Island, New York, in the amount of $569,000, submitting the lowest responsive bid.
Have a second? Okay. Seconded by Commissioner Leva. Now I can entertain a motion to table if that's,
Mr. President?
yes.
Motion to table.
Tabled by Commissioner Siegel, seconded by Commissioner Leva. So motion to table. Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva? Yes. Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes,
Dr. Hart?
Yes,
Mr. Wexler?
Yes to table.
Mr. Holmes?
No.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes. So this tabling, this bid, as I understand from our township engineer, this bid of $569,000 is good for 90 days with an option to extend. So we do have time to still accept this bid if this board so chooses, but we don't have to decide tonight or next month. We have time to discuss this further, which I think some folks would like to do. So we'll go back to the regular agenda at this point, which is the citizens forum. We have 20 minutes allotted for registered speakers. There are no registered speakers this evening, but we also have 20 minutes allotted for anyone that would like to speak on an agenda item. It must be an agenda item, and if you want to speak on any item, any agenda item or non-agenda item, you'll have the opportunity to do so under agenda item number 22, which is a continuation of the citizens forum. So is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on an agenda item? You have 3 minutes, and please come state your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Jay Prosak, Paddock Farms. For this Brookline School demolition, does this include the asbestos removal?
It would
And do we know, and one, I'm surprised this is a public, I thought this was supposed to be a public opening. This is the first I've heard that it was going, you've taken the bids and it's a possible award. In my experience, the public is usually involved with, at least you can see what the different bids are. That's the first part. The second part is, I know you're not going to be awarding it tonight, but on the chance that the Brookline School will be renovated and not demolished, do we know what the breakdown between the demolition portion and the asbestos removal portion of the bid is? Because if the building will not be demolished, you're not going to award the entire contract. And I suggested in a letter to Mr. Siegel that the township engineer asked for the bids to be submitted that way. Obviously, they weren't, and this puts the township at risk, because if you ask for a credit, you won't be getting the full amount of what the demolition is worth. So, without an answer, I assume we don't know what the demolition portion of this bid is in case the Brookline School, for whatever reason, remains standing and gets renovated. I don't know if there's any response from the board, or I don't know if Mr.
I don't know whether
Maloney's-
Chuck, you address that question about the bid openings and
Certainly,
process?
Commissioner. The total bid price, as you mentioned, was $569,000. Of that, about $270,000 was related to the environmental issues, asbestos and other things in the building. And
So
the
if-
balance was the demolition.
Okay,
And
so
it was a
if-
public bid, though. I mean, it was an opening.
It was a public bid that was open, yes.
when was the bid open? Because there was nothing,
Well,
wasn't made
Can
aware
you
of.
explain that process of how that works?
The bids are opened electronically these days, and then they're distributed to the township. So they're open via a process called Pen Bid, which is an electronic bidding system in the state of Pennsylvania, okay? Where anybody can go on and log on and see that. And then once all those bids are gathered and the information is checked and verified, there's a bid tabulation that goes over to the township. And that's what the commissioners look at and go by.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Please.
I thought I was on the list.
I didn't get that you were, Tony, I'm sorry, but you still have 3 minutes.
I am very shaken by what I've just heard, to say the least. I think, frankly, I almost don't even know where to begin at this stage of the game. But I would suggest that if you don't already do so, you pay attention to what people are posting on the Haverford Town Community Facebook and on Nextdoor. You will find that there are no small number of people who are quite astounded by the way this whole transaction has taken place. I myself have repeatedly asked for, while you have a bid for demolition, no one has offered a bid for maintaining the facade of the building and gutting the interior. What is the urge to demolish one of our most historic buildings? It makes no sense to me whatsoever. And I think it makes no sense to a great number of people in our community. I did not want to get into the history of the school, but the school, if you understand the history of Brookline Manor, it's one of the first communities constructed with a clear social thought in mind just after World War I. You have a community that has a central wide thoroughfare, very unusual for the time. Along that thoroughfare, you have all the churches. At the end of the thoroughfare, at one end, you have the school for the community. At the other end, at both ends, you have a transportation system. What was back in the day when I was a child, the trolley car and the bus, and then the P&W at the far end. If you take down that school, you take down the foundational structure, the cornerstone of this community as a community. How many of you were born here? How many of you grew up here? I mean, yeah, I know you. Me too. Yeah, we know. What is the need to demolish a beautiful stone structure? Do you even understand the structure itself? The architectural history and value of that building as a building? I mean, I had a prepared thing here, but I'm abandoning that. That building is a perfect example of Georgian Federal Revival style. You have a beautiful pedimented central piece. On either side, you have two wings. That structure, that design has a meaning historically. Look at Independence Hall. Look at the Capitol building. That is a rational building, a building built for education. It tells you this is the mother central piece of the building, and I have two wings on either side in which I raise the community that I'm serving. It's a beautiful, beautiful building of stone, not this garbage that's been put up in this nonsense.
built from the stone that was taken from the quarries in Haverford Township. The quarries that were built, that were once right along here, that is now a shopping center. What are you going to replace it with? More plastic junk? Stainless steel like the Manoa School that looks like something out of Soviet Union work camps? Where is your sense of history? It's an abomination that you do this. Why can you not have another proposal that says, how can we preserve the facade? I'm not saying the interior. I know the interior is no good. Why can we not preserve the facade of the building and make it useful for something else? Now, let me calm myself a little bit. I'm trying to get back to what I was really originally going to say.
You wrap up your comments, Tony. You're over 3 minutes, so just if you could, please. Because we have other people that want to speak.
I need to say one more thing.
Sure.
Again, if you look at the Havertown Community Facebook, a woman posted a post.
I'm very familiar with the proposal.
A woman posted a phenomenally good idea. Buy the Oakmont School from the school board, which doesn't really even use it except for a few offices, and make that the library. It's perfectly located, has perfect parking area. It's ideally situated as a building. Sell the current building, sell the current library. By the way, for those of you who insist that modern is the best way to go, let me remind you that modern was the library that we have right now when they destroyed the old original library, and the modern is falling apart. And modern is nothing more than a dark tomb.
I have 35-year-old sunglasses and a flip phone. You shouldn't yell at me about modern.
Because you made the speech about a school is good because it's modern the last time around.
I think
Okay, and
modernity is very
that speech has absolutely no foundation whatsoever if you know anything about contemporary architecture or contemporary buildings. But anyway, that woman's proposal was quite good. And that's something.
Well, that's something we're going to consider. It's one of the reasons
Yes.
it was tabled tonight, so.
Well, but it's a very good point.
Yeah, so thank you, Tony. Anyone else like to?
Michelle Alvarez, 134 Hastings Avenue. And I'm here to give my thanks to Commissioner McGarity on behalf of the Parks Board. Jimmy has been, for 28 years, the champion of Parks and Recreation in this township. While Tim Denny was our director, Jimmy and Tim are the reason this township is one of the best places to live off the main line because of all the recreation, parks, and facilities that we have, and especially for what we did out with the Haverford State Hospital property and the CREC, and what Jimmy did years ago to get us a stadium. So I just want to thank him on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Board for being our champion.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Just made me feel mighty happy.
Hi, Colette Bannon, 334 Sagamore Road. I do want to applaud the commissioners for tabling this motion about the Brookline School because I do think it needs further study. I know it's been on your agenda for many, many months, but it is now coming to the awareness of the community and the neighborhood surrounding it. So I do think a little bit of studying is in order. I have written a long memo about the history of the building and its importance to our neighborhood and to our community as a whole. And I'm happy to circulate any copies of that. But my concern was that not enough historic preservationists have gone through this building to take a look at it and to assess it. I know engineers have, and they look at it with a different eye. I do think that there are a lot of companies and individuals within our township and surrounding our township who are very well versed in retrofitting old buildings and making new spaces out of them. And I do think maybe we can use this 90 days to get some of their input and their expertise and to look into repurposing this building, especially since it still seems a little up in the air as to what it's going to be in the long run. The neighborhood has concerns about the library. I don't know what the final outcome is, so I don't know why we would demolish something without exactly knowing what's going to happen for the future. So thank you for tabling this motion.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, please.
My name is Alan Phillips, and I've been a resident and taxpayer living in Woodmere Park for almost 50 years. Both of my children spent 12 years in the Haverford Township school system. My daughter was in the last sixth grade class graduating from the Brookline School. I am actively involved on the neighborhood website Nextdoor. There have recently been numerous postings about the fate of the Brookline and Oakmont school buildings and the library. Some of those conversations have revolved around demolishing the Brookline School and using the property for recreational purposes, demolishing the Brookline School and building a new library on that property, redesigning and renovating the existing Brookline School building for use as a library, renovating the existing library at its present location, utilizing the unused portion of the Oakmont School as a library, and several different combinations of the above. We live in a democracy, and I would like to see the cost of all of these alternative proposals presented to us taxpayers as a referendum on a ballot. I realize there may be cost involved in ascertaining the prices of these various proposals, but I feel this is money well spent. Give us taxpayers a method for making an informed decision. Let the majority vote prevail, because in one way or another, us taxpayers will be paying for these projects.
Thank you for your comments. I would just say that, first off, that's what this board was elected to do, was to make those decisions, number one. And number two, I don't think it's a question that can be put in a referendum. I don't know whether you can address that, Kelly, or not, but I don't think it's a referendum type of question.
Why not?
Turn your mic on.
There's several people asking that question. Why not?
Yeah.
I would have to look into getting it onto a referendum. I mean, it would be.
Aren't there's certain, I mean, my gut tells me that's not something that could be put on a referendum, but.
Right, I mean.
But I also think this board was elected by our residents to make decisions, and this is a decision that I think should be made by this board.
The board is not forthcoming with all the information.
That's not fair, Tony. This has been a very open, inclusive, transparent process, and to say otherwise is completely false. So, I've read the comments. I've read the comments. I know exactly what they're saying. Please come up if you want to. Okay. We have been transparent and open, inclusive, and we will continue to be. Ever since March, this has been on the agenda. We've had probably 4 hours of discussion with this board on this very topic, and we're still not done, okay? And we're committed to do more going forward. But don't say it hasn't been transparent and open and inclusive, because I'm not going to listen to that.
Why is there only one point of view for a bid to demolish the school and not for anything else?
Well, we're not finished yet, so there's other.
We're almost finished.
Well, we tabled it, did we not? So anyway, we're not going to go back and forth. Anyone else have any conversations? Just, one more, we have 2 more speakers. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Steve DeVonzo. I live at 604 North Manoa Road in the great 7th Ward. And 1987, it was before your sunglasses were even made, I worked my heart out. I worked night and day to keep Jim McGarity off of this board. I mean, I worked and worked and worked and worked. I was the campaign manager for his opponent.
I wish I could have helped you.
Well, we beat him that year, but 4 years later, he cleaned our clock. And I'm just here tonight to say, boy, was I wrong, because, well, you turned out to be the greatest commissioner in this township's history. And what makes you a great commissioner is you really do care, and the town is in you. As this man said, you were born here. You lived here all your life. And I see it when I watch you on TV every month, and I keep on saying to myself, boy, what a commissioner he is and what a guy he is. And I want to thank you as one of your constituents, Jim. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
One more speaker.
Good evening. My name is Phil Goldsmith, 312 Old Forest Road. I'm president of the board of the library. Just a couple of things I want to say is that I don't read Facebook anymore, but I have been told about the most recent idea floating around. I don't even think it's worthy of my time or comments, because it's really, I can't believe the school district would go along with this since they just renovated that building. They've just gotten rid of Brookline and so forth. So it's really hard to imagine that that would take place. Having said that, I do want this board to know that we did look at the Oakmont School years ago. For those of you that think that this is a rush to judgment, I have a different perspective. We have been working as a board and as a township since the year 2003 to do something about our library. We've considered the following sites during that time: the Bubblegum Factory, the Oakmont Elementary School, the Manoa Elementary School, the Old Lanark School, Stratford's Friends School, the Brookline School, the Synagogue on Mill Road, St. Dennis Grimes Center, Hope Methodist Church, Old Township Building, the Police Stadium site, the Citizens Bank, Waybar Building, the Library Block from Darby to Green Road, and Mill Road to Golf Road. There's been a lot of thought, a lot of effort, a lot of time, and a lot of frustration since 2003. Democracy is a wonderful thing. I hope we can preserve it. But at some point in time, we've got to start to make a decision. In February 14th of 2017, we were ordered to go pencils down on the library. We did. After appearing before this commission in August or September that year, you allowed us to go pencils up, which we did. In January of 2018, when the Brookline site became possible, something to explore, something to consider, something to look at, we were told to stop work, and we have. It's been 2 years. Tony, you're very enthusiastic. I admire your dedication and commitment. I appreciate it. I have a different perspective. I'm anxious to get this moving. Our library isn't falling down. It needs repair. It will never fall down because we have great books there and great people working there. So I want to keep this in the right perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. I see that our former township manager, Larry Gentili, came in the room.
Yeah, hey Larry, could you
want
just
to make a few
come up
comments?
here and say a few words,
Want to say a
Larry,
few
would you?
words?
I got to tell you a little about this fellow when we're done here.
And can you get your cheesecakes on the way out?
Well, it was good to see everyone. Feels like it was just a couple days ago. As you can see, I'm starting to grow hair again. A little bit.
Larry, let me just say, you just ruined what I was going to bring up. But I'm glad you said what you said. You're starting to grow hair again. He lost all his hair because I drove him crazy. Pull it all out. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry, for coming.
It was a good thing, but I had an opportunity. I just finished my meeting at Marple, and they got me out early. I want to rush down, say hello to everyone. But a special congratulations to you, Jimmy, and thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
You've been a great service person to this community, and you worked with me over the years from 1979 till when I left. So I wish you the best. The township is going to miss you, and I hope that you and I and your wife can go out to lunch in the very near future. So I wish you very.
We're just waiting for the call, Larry.
We'll do
Okay?
that. So.
Randy would love to go, but she could talk.
Well, good seeing everyone.
Thanks, Larry. You're welcome to stick around, Larry, for the full
I
meeting.
certainly will. I'm going to give these guys over there a hard time. So good seeing you. Thank you,
Thanks
Jimmy.
for being
Congratulations. It's a lot more relaxed now.
Oh, they're great. Nice.
Okay, now we return to the agenda. Agenda item number 5. We turn to the budget portion of our agenda this evening, a budget hearing and adoption. Section A, which is a review of any changes to the 2020 preliminary budget. And turn to Vice President Holmes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. President, I have been presented by our Township Finance Director.
Why don't we make the motion?
Summary.
Why don't we make the motion first? Second it.
Good point. Okay, so I move that we adopt the final budget for 2020.
Seconded by Commissioner Siegel. Okay, discussion.
Mr. President, as you may know, public knows that the budget is a two-vote process, and between the first and second vote, is the time that any changes or amendments can be suggested to the budget, and then it is subject to a final vote tonight. There have been changes to this budget. None of those changes changed the real estate taxes or the sewer rate or the trash fee. So to repeat for everybody, we will have an 8.487 millage rate for our real estate taxes. We will have no change in the sewer rate, which will remain $4.40 per 1,000 gallons. And we will have an increase in the trash fee from $18 to $245 per residential unit. The final budget now reflects total revenues of $48,011,100 and total expenditures, naturally, of $48,011,100. The preliminary budget was $46,707,722. So there has been an increase in revenues and expenditures between the preliminary and the final budget of $1,303,378. The overwhelming majority of that increase in revenues is grant revenues of $255,000, actually about $256,000, which reflect a grant we expected to get in the fourth quarter of 2019 and will not receive until the start of 2020, and also unspent capital project funds of $1,012,000. We also have increased projected revenues from the stadium of approximately $20,000 and miscellaneous revenue and investment earning of another $15,000. Those revenues will translate to expenditures, additional expenditures in the budget of approximately $6,000 for uniforms. Codes and sanitation will be getting approximately $520,000 of equipment. That is equipment that, again, was expected to have been done in 19, but we had to put it into 20 because the changes, because of we did not receive the revenues that we anticipated receiving. The stadium has matched its projected increased revenues with approximately $20,000 of repairs and maintenance that it is going to undertake. And we will have approximately $750,000 transferred to other funds. And in terms of our capital fund, we will be taking that $750,000 transfer from other funds that I referred to just now in our increased revenues, and that will be used for a small road paving program that we will take on in 20, and we will address in 20 what roads will be subject to that program. So that is the budget before us for adoption tonight. And again, to repeat, it reflects no changes in the tax revenue or tax rates from the preliminary budget that we adopted a month ago. And I recommend that my board members approve it.
That's a quick question. The road, this road program, do we know what roads we were thinking about?
We are going to have that page match in the first quarter of 2020. This is liquid fuels money that we received unexpectedly, and so the township manager will come up with some type of hocus pocus to enable us to figure out which roads should be done.
No, I think there's a pretty good list that's ongoing of the priority streets that need to be repaved, according to our public works director and our township manager. So I think whatever is on the list, it's not based on, it's just based on need. Is that correct, Dan? What's that?
It just hasn't been done yet. It hasn't been.
It's a list that's ongoing. I mean, so that list is like the ones that we didn't do this year that were on the list have just have been elevated, I assume. So,
Can you get us a copy of that list when you get a chance?
We'll work through it with you, yes.
It's, right, and let's be clear, when we're doing a several million-dollar road program versus we now have $750,000, there may be things on the list that are next, but if it's a $1 million job, it doesn't make sense to do $750,000 of $1 million job and do instead 3 $250,000 jobs that are also waiting to be done. And that's why, pardon the expression hocus pocus, but it is not as simple as go to the next one on the list. It will require our township manager to come up with, to analyze the list and come up with the best thing for the township for purposes of that road program. We just haven't done that yet because this is a change. This is an unexpected amount of money that we can use for roads in '20 that only has come up in the last several weeks.
any other questions or discussion? So this represents, the bottom line is it represents the preliminary and the final budget. As Commissioner Holmes said, it represents a 1.51% tax increase for the township portion of your tax bill. We can't do anything about the school district or the county, but that's what your township tax portion would increase by 1.51%.
To put that specifically in dollars, our median property assessment in Haverford Township for residential property is $145,000. 50% of our homeowners have a home at 145 or less. 50% of our homeowners have a home at 145 or more. That tax bill, 145, would face a $19 increase.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Item number 5B, ordinance number P24, 2019, sewer rental charge. Final reading, Commissioner Holmes.
Mr. President. Mr. President, I move we adopt final reading of ordinance number P24, 2019, authorizing the imposition of an annual sewer rate in the amount of $4.40 per 1,000 gallons of water consumed.
Second.
Commissioner Holmes, seconded by Commissioner Siegel. Any questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
He thinks.
Doctor, Mr. Professor, modern guy, I'm that too, yeah.
Mr. Lewis.
I answer to anything.
Okay, 5C, ordinance number P25, 2019, trash fee. Final reading.
Mr. President. Mr. President, I move we adopt final reading of ordinance number P25, 2019, establishing the annual trash fee at $245.
Second.
Moved by Vice President Holmes, seconded by Commissioner Siegel. Any questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Agenda item number 5D, ordinance number 2888-2019, tax levy, first reading is a final reading.
Mr. President.
Yes, Commissioner.
Mr. President, I move we adopt ordinance number 2888, 2019, and fixing the tax rate for the year 2020 at 8.487 mil.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wexler, Commissioner Siegel. Any question or discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes. 5E, ordinance number 2889-2019, budget appropriations, first reading is a final reading.
Mr. President.
Holmes.
Mr. President, I move we adopt ordinance number P 2889 of 2019, appropriating funds established to be required for the specific purpose of financing the municipal government for the year 2020, including all taxes, fees, service charges, and other revenue sources provided within all funds.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Siegel. Any questions or discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes. That concludes the budget portion for our agenda.
Mr. President, if I may, just
Yes.
30 seconds. I know they're timing me. I said that the median rate was $19. That is, however, there is an $18 increase to the tax, to the trash fund. So just for purposes of not saying something misleading out there, the median tax bill increase for people, even though part of it is trash fee, will be approximately $37. And I want to thank again our extraordinarily professional staff who put together, Amy and Dave and all of the department heads made this process very smooth and very professional. And I want to thank the Stadium. They took my hint last month to come and ask us for more money, but the first time ever, they also projected more revenue. So they got what they asked for, and it didn't cost us a dime. So bravo to the Stadium Advisory Board for that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. We now turn our attention to the regular meeting, portion of our Board of Commissioners meeting. Agenda item number 6 is the Civil Service Commission, and here this evening to represent the Civil Service Commission is Janet Pacella. She's a member of the Civil Service Commission and also the administrator, and she will be joined by our chief, John Viola.
Okay. On behalf of the Police Civil Service Commission, I'm presenting to the board for approval a certified list of eligible candidates who have participated and passed the required procedures in order to be considered for an entry-level position in our police department.
Everyone, everyone has that list in front of them?
We do.
You do? Do we want to have a motion to accept this list?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to let Mr. McGarity, since he is last meeting, have him do it.
Yes, I have the list. Thank you very much, Mr. D'Amelio, and being this is my last meeting, I make a motion that we appoint Stephen.
No.
Nope.
First one.
Oh, we,
First one, adopt the civil
Approve the
service.
list.
what is it?
Accept the list.
We accept the
Number
list.
six.
No,
Number
just-
6, Jimmy. Number 6.
Number 6, the first
Motion
one.
to adopt the civil service entry-level police list.
Okay. Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the civil service entry-level police list.
Second.
Okay, made by Commissioner McGarity, seconded by Commissioner D'Amelio. Any questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Second part of this motion, Commissioner
Again, I'll defer to Commissioner McGarity.
Commissioner McGarity.
Okay, I make a motion to appoint Stephen Roast Jr. As a Haverford Township entry-level police officer.
Second.
Okay.
Moved by Commissioner
I'm required to read the 3 names according to our.
Okay, Janet, read the 3 and I'll go through it again.
Again.
Why don't you read the 3 names? I didn't
We
know
do
where
this
that
every
was.
time.
Read the 3 names.
You have to forgive Jimmy. It's his first meeting.
Oh, we had our list.
We always go by the rules and regulations.
I'm all for that.
Okay?
I'm just trying to help the Eagles fans
Just the
out.
3
here.
names.
We do have 1 vacancy, and the following top-ranking candidates to be considered are Stephen Ross Jr., Thomas Murdoff, and Justin Davis.
Okay, I make a motion that we pick Stephen Ross Jr.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner McGarity, seconded by Commissioner D'Amelio. Any questions or
Would we
discussion?
close appointments?
There you go.
Do we do that?
I don't think we need to do that.
We
Please call the roll. We're going to vote.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes, congratulations.
Commissioners, obviously Stephen Rose is standing next to me. He is 28 years old and currently resides in Philadelphia, but grew up in the South Jersey area. Stephen is a graduate of Stockton University and earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He is currently enrolled in the master's degree program at St. Joseph University. Stephen has been employed by the Philadelphia Police Department since September of 2016, whereas he signed to the 19th Police District, which borders Haverford Township. He is here tonight with his fiancee, Megan Nowak, and he will be sworn in to the Police Department on January 2nd, 2020. Congratulations. You're on the line and roll. Of course.
Good job.
Shake.
That's one of these days. Quick picture. Yeah, sure. No.
I want to thank the chief and thank Janet and the Civil Service Commission for their work. I understand this gets us to 69 and we are trying to get to our full complement of 70. Is that correct, Chief?
That's correct.
So one more appointment,
Yes,
probably
and-
one more
and
entry-level
Commissioners,
position.
as
next year.
usual, I thank you for supporting the police department, keeping our strength in numbers where it should be. It's a pleasure that we can go before the board and be able to move forward and keep the police department as one of the top in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, definitely. Thank you, Chief. Okay, back on the agenda. We decided we wouldn't have Commissioner Committee updates except for the work session unless there was a need. Does anyone have a need?
Yeah, I'm sorry, just real quick. We received some information from Kelly Sullivan regarding the properties that we spoke about. I'd like to put that on the agenda for January, if you
Sure.
could. Discussion.
Sure. I mean, it has to go to the ordinance and go through.
Excuse me, I haven't looked at it, but
Yeah.
I'm sure it's
Yeah,
fine, because it's, one, I trust our solicitor, and two, it should be based on the
Boilerplate.
state law, so.
Right, well, so the state law, I don't think that the board needs to do anything for that Conservatorship Act. I did provide some other local registry ordinances to look at, and that's more for the registry of homes that are vacant, foreclosed homes normally. Then the township would have a contact information for that property.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's fine, as long as we
And I'll be
discuss.
looking at it in the next week, but I
Okay.
haven't
Thank you.
gotten to it.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Kelly,
you.
thank you for providing us with that information.
You're welcome.
Okay, agenda item number 8, a township auditor update. Ross Anderson.
Oh, I had one,
You want to hold on 1 second, Ross?
yeah,
Commissioner
I
Siegel?
just wanted an update from the Parks Board on the no smoking in the parks ordinance that's been tabled and hasn't resurfaced.
I don't know whether, Brian, you want to comment?
I guess, I mean, we discussed it at the park board meeting.
Is your speaker
Oh,
on?
I'm sorry, off. It was discussed at the park board meeting, and the park board did vote on it. And they voted it down. But there were some people who wanted to come to the Board of Commissioners meeting and speak about the process. So it wasn't a unanimous vote. So they are not recommending, the board is not recommending, the park board is not recommending that there's an issue with this.
I would still like it placed on the agenda.
Oh, I think it should be, yeah. We can have the discussion, but I'm giving you what the park board decided.
All right. Okay, we can add that to January's agenda.
Just put it on the agenda.
Put it on the agenda. Okay, I'm sorry, Ross, the township auditor update.
You can come talk.
First, I want to thank Jim McGarity for his service for all these years in the boards and everything he's done. I've also heard that you can still, even at your age, you can still play ball pretty well. You're a legend out there in the field.
Hey, ball, did you say?
Baseball, yeah.
I'm all ready. Get the fields fixed. Let's go.
I heard you field pretty well. You're a pretty good outfielder.
Thank you.
I reviewed the expenditures and warrants for this meetings. I found no irregularities, and all of my questions were answered to my satisfaction. In addition, I did review the township budget, and I found all the estimates to be reasonable. I also, all my questions were answered to my satisfaction. And last, and definitely least, the Eagles, if they win tonight, will be tied for first at 6-7. But so just show, it doesn't matter how good the division is, somebody has to finish first.
Might as well be us.
Fortunately.
Go Eagles. Thank you. Agenda item number 9, approval of minutes, the regular meeting of November 12th, and also the preliminary budget meeting minutes of November 18th.
Motion to approve the regular meeting minutes on November the 12th, 2019, and the preliminary budget meeting minutes of November 18th, 2019.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Garrity, seconded by Commissioner Oliva. Any discussion or edits or questions? All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstention?
I have to, I wasn't here.
One abstention. Agenda item number 10 is approval of the warrants. Vice President Holmes.
Mr. President, I move we approve warrant number 12, 2019, totaling $7,794,686.29, comprising the general and sewer fund payroll for November 14 of 2019 in the amount of $642,913.23, the general and sewer fund payroll for November 27, 2019 in the amount of $654,158.87, general fund disbursements number 12 of 2019 in the amount of $5,303,532.22, sewer fund disbursements number 12 of 2019 in the amount of $562,910.55, community development block grant fund disbursement number 12 of 2019 in the amount of $193,018.59, capital project fund disbursement number 12, 2019, in the amount of $430,722.89. The credit card statement ending November 27th, 2019, in the amount of $7,429.94.
Have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Oliva. Any questions or discussion?
Mr. President, I recommend their approval.
Recommend their approval. Any other questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarry.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Agenda item number 13, ordinance number P28, 2019, traffic, second reading.
Wait a second.
We skipped something. Lawrence Road, whose board is that?
I'm sorry. It went from 10.
We're on 11.
We're on 11.
Second lease
Oh, I'm
agreement.
sorry.
With AT&T
I lost
Mobile.
the page. I'm sorry, I lost it. Okay.
Yeah.
Agenda item number 11, ordinance number P26, 2019, second lease agreement with AT&T Mobility Corporation, second reading.
Mr. President?
Yes, Commissioner.
Mr. President, I move we adopt the second reading of ordinance number P26 of 2019, approving the second lease amendment with AT&T Mobility Corporation, the manager for New Singular Wireless PCS LLC, pertaining to a ground lease for a portion of property located at 2080 Old Westchester Pike, Haverford Township, PA.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Oliva. Any questions or discussion?
We went through this last month.
Yes.
I
Second
think,
reading.
To exhaustion, yes.
Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarry.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Agenda item number 12, ordinance number P27, 2019, sale of 599 Glendale Road. Again, a second
President.
reading.
Make a motion to adopt the second reading of ordinance number P27-2019, authorizing the sale of 599 Glendale Road at public auction.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Wexler, seconded by Commissioner McGarity. Any questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Now we get to agenda item number 13, ordinance number P28, 2019, traffic reading. Traffic, second reading.
Mr. President,
Mr. Siegel.
Excuse me, motion to adopt the second reading of ordinance P 28, 2019, authorizing traffic restrictions on the following highways, special purpose parking established in front of 1463 Lawrence Road.
Second.
By Commissioner Siegel, second by Commissioner Oliva. Any questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Dr. Hart. Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Agenda item number 14, ordinance number P 29, 2019, traffic, first reading.
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
I make a motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance number P 29, 2019, establishing traffic restrictions on the following highways. Special purpose parking zones, one space on the side of residential dwelling at 2500 East County Line Road at gate.
Yes.
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Holmes. Any questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey. Yes. Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
And Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Agenda item number 15, resolution number 2163, 2019, our 2020 meeting dates.
Mr. President,
Commissioner Siegel.
motion to adopt resolution number 2163-2019, approving the 2020 Board of Commissioners, Boards, and Commissions meeting dates.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Garrity. Any questions or discussion?
We went through these all, right?
We did. Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey. Yes. Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Agenda item number 16, resolution 2164-2019, underground retention water and sewer grant at Chatham Glen Park.
Mr. President, a motion to adopt resolution number 2164, 2019, that the Board of Commissioners does hereby designate David R. Berman, Township Manager, as the official to execute all documents and agreements between the Township and the Commonwealth Financing Authority to facilitate and assist in obtaining the requested grant in the amount of $500,000 from the Commonwealth Financing Authority to be used for the construction of an underground retention facility at Chatham Glen Park.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Hart, seconded by Commissioner McGarity. Any questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Agenda item number 17, resolution 2165, 2019, H2O PA flood control program, again at Chatham Glen Infrastructure Improvement Project.
Mr. President, motion to adopt resolution number 2165, 2019, that the Board of Commissioners does hereby designate David R. Berman, Township Manager, as the official to execute all documents and agreements between the Township and the Commonwealth Financing Authority to facilitate and assist in obtaining the requested grant in the amount of $5 million from the Commonwealth Financing Authority to be used for improvements to the existing stormwater conveyance system through portions of the Chatham Glen neighborhood.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Hart, seconded by Commissioner McGarity. Any questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Agenda item number 18, resolution 2166, 2019, addenda number 1 to our climate action plan.
Mr. President,
Commissioner Hart.
motion to adopt resolution number 2166, 2019, that the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford accepts addendum number 1 to our 2008 climate action plan that was presented at our October 7, 2019 work session. The Commissioners will give strong consideration to the short-term recommendations in addendum number 1 to the Climate Change Action Plan as we consider our future legislative and budgetary steps towards meeting our climate action goals. And the Board of Commissioners will also continue to request addenda to the Climate Change Action Plan to support future years' actions until a comprehensive plan update is completed that addresses the steps needed to reach our 2035 and 2050 goals.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Hart, seconded by Commissioner Oliva. Any questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarry.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Agenda item number 19, 2019 application to DEP Alternative Grant Program.
Motion to support the Township's 2019 application to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection Alternate Fuels Grant Programs.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner D'Amelio. Any questions on this application? If not, please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Agenda item number 20, we tabled. So we turned now to agenda item number 21, Veterans Field Improvement Phase 2, Field B.
Motion to award the Veterans Field Improvements Phase 2, Field B relocation to Farhat General Construction Services, Halifax, Pennsylvania, in the amount of $87,654.32, submitting the lowest responsible bid.
Second.
By Commissioner McGarity, seconded by Commissioner Oliva. Any questions, discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Agenda item number 22 is a continuation of our citizens forum for non-agenda items, or really anything you'd like to speak on. You have 3 minutes. If anybody in the audience would like to speak, please come forward. Victor?
My name is Victor Barsky. I live at 28 Bambi Lane in Haverford, and I've lived there since 1987 with my wife, Gail. I have been I've been appointed by Andy Lewis 3 years ago to be on the Haverford EAC, and I've really enjoyed my position there and my time trying to do the best we can for the climate. I was asked by Peter Puglianese, who's the board chairman, to come here and thank you all for your hard work and trying to make the climate, at least for Haverford, a little better for now and for the future. And I just want to thank the Board of Commissioners for all their help and future help, and for all the staff for doing what is the right thing to try and make it better for us and for our kids to follow. That's all.
Thanks so much, Victor, for your service. Round two.
Round two. Michelle Alvarez. I just have a question. When are we going to get our new tax assessments that go into effect in January that the millage rate goes against?
I'm sorry,
They
they
haven't
go
done
into effect January of 2021. And the value should be coming out, I believe, early spring of 2020. And you will have
Okay.
2 opportunities to contest the value that's assigned to you when you receive that.
Thank you. I thought it was happening in January.
So some people will be happy and some people will be very unhappy.
All right, we're on TV. Our solicitor gave an extraordinary answer there, but I want to make clear, this is the county. We, the township,
yeah.
have nothing to do, the school district, the township, we have nothing to do with this reassessment. This is done at the county level. So I appreciate your quick answer, but it would give people the impression that you were advising us on it when we're just as in the dark as,
Yeah,
That's the
because
school
we got that letter saying contest the components of your property, and then we haven't heard anything since. So, thank you.
Thank you.
we probably should be aware that when that happens countywide, there's going to be a great deal of marketing to people of efforts to challenge these, and people should be on the lookout for it.
That's my understanding. There's going to be a two-step process to challenging these. The first would be an informal, if you will, if you didn't mail back that data mailer saying that something was wrong, that's the first sort of informal process with the company that is actually conducting this reassessment. And then there will be a second formal hearing process, and I imagine that the county will have multiple boards to hear those appeals.
There just might be a lot of snake oil for sale, folks, who are
Yes.
saying guarantee results and things like that, and people are going to have to be aware of it. And as we become aware of any scams, we will alert people.
Anyone else in the audience would like to speak on any topic? Okay, that concludes our citizens forum. Turn to agenda item number 23 is new business. Any new business to come before this board? If not, we'll go to agenda item. I'm sorry, Jimmy. We'll go to, you can do that on other business.
Okay.
We'll go to agenda item number 24, other business. Just want to make the public aware that this board will have our reorganization meeting on Monday, January 6th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. And this board will reorganize and will make the various appointments to the boards and commissions that serve this township so well. So with that, I'll start with other business, start with Commissioner D'Amelio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to bring up a problem that we're having on Westchester Pike with the business that I think the chief's been involved with the traffic on Briarwood, and I want to talk to, I guess, the township manager at some point this week. Residents asked me to bring this up. I've been getting numerous emails again about the parking situation and how it's choking the streets around the corner, specifically Briarwood. And my concern is that this business went in and they do not have enough parking for staff and customers. And some of these vehicles that are parking on the street are virtually blocking driveways, parking close to the corners. It's making it very difficult to get up the street or people to get out of their driveways. So, I don't know how they got in if they don't have enough parking, but that's an issue that we need to address as a township. And if we could do that this week, I would certainly appreciate it, but I promised the residents that I would bring this up this evening. And if the police can
We'll continue to monitor the situation.
certainly monitor
Yes.
that and do what you can to keep these vehicles from blocking driveways or virtually sticking out in the corners there.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Congratulations to the Haverford Township Bureau of Fire. I mean, they always do an excellent job. I certainly appreciate all the volunteers that are that continue to serve our township. Jimmy, what can I say?
It's been fun. It's been a good ride.
It's been fun. I remember when you were, when I first joined this board, I mean, I used to come to these meetings like Connor was and watching you in action with some of your colleagues. There was interesting days as well. And, it got even more interesting later on. But I never saw a commissioner so committed to his ward. It was about servicing your constituents, and nobody did it better than you, Jimmy. And
Thank you, Steve.
I really admire you and your work that you've done in the 7th Ward. They should be very proud of your career. And congratulations to Connor, who's coming on board. You have big shoes to fill, but you always were an eager man, and I'm sure you're going to be jumping right in there in the shark-infested waters. So best of luck to you as well. Thank you. Oh, and Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah to everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Oliva.
Well, what can I say about Commissioner McGarity? When I came onto this board, it was not it was not the board that's in front of you. It was a very contentious board, and you didn't know who to trust. And talk about shark-infested waters. Commissioner McGarity was what I can say is that he took me under his wing, and he he kept those away from me a little bit until I was able to get my sea legs. Taught me how to get around, and you're getting when you Connor, this is going to happen to you. You get hit from every direction. And so it's difficult, and he helped me along, Jim, and I really appreciate that. And also, I've never seen anybody, I work pretty hard, but I've never seen a guy work so hard in an election for his constituency. I've been in the back room with this guy, and he fights like an animal for his constituency. The word fight came up quite a few times when Commissioner Connell was talking, and that he does fight for his people, and never for himself, always for his constituency, always fighting for the 7th Ward. So, Jim, thank you. Thank you so much for helping me along, and for the 7th Ward also.
I'll do what they say. I'll stay in shape. I'll keep playing ball. So if the fight comes, let me know.
All right.
I'd like to join in.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I'll call you back in. And happy holidays to everyone. Our next board meeting is in January, so we won't see you until the new year, until after New Year. So happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you. Mr. McCluskey?
Yeah, just briefly, I expressed this a couple times, and I just would reiterate that, I obviously supported tabling the vote on the bid for the Brookline School tonight, but I would just reiterate what Phil Goldsmith said, is that, at this point, we need to, hopefully we'll have the numbers next month, and we need to make a decision. We need to move forward, because we've gone on too long, and I just think as a board, we have 3 buildings that are on hold essentially while we're making a decision. So it's the time is coming for us to make a decision. But our next meeting will be in the new year, and I hope everyone has happy holidays and a happy new year. And this board will start fresh January 6th. So go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Siegel?
Thank you, and I would echo that I hope that next year finally brings a resolution to the library issues. I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Hag Yerim Sameach, a happy holiday of lights, and a happy and healthy New Year.
Thank you, Commissioner Siegel. So, Jimmy, we're going to skip over you and go give you the last word. How's that
Okay,
sound?
thank you.
Dr. Hart?
Yeah, I want to offer my congratulations on your retirement. Thank you for your service, Jim. I'm sure I'll see you at the Grange. Congratulations, Connor. He's starting out a lot younger than you.
Oh, yeah.
Breaking record.
He's going to break my record, I'll tell you that now.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
Thank you, Dr. Hart. Mr. Wexler?
I wish everybody happy holidays. Jimmy, I'd like to thank you. When Kenny Richardson was talking about how hard you worked, I remember when I was first elected, I was probably only in office a couple of months, and it was on an EMT call down on Ridgewood Avenue at 3:45 a.m. on a Monday morning. So I did the Sunday overnight into Monday morning. And who's outside the house but you and Kenny Richardson inspecting streetlights at 3:45 a.m.? I didn't realize how hard you worked to be a commissioner, that we're inspecting, making sure the streetlights were out. So it was a great example of my first couple months in office of how hard you dedicated your service. And I'd like to congratulate not only you, but Fran for 28 years of service.
She had to live with all that, I'll tell you.
I agree, and she's been a pleasure to work, and I applaud her hard efforts at the Grange and all she does for our township as well. So I offer my congratulations and happy holidays to all my constituents in the 9th Ward.
Thank you.
Vice President Holmes?
Mr. President, Jimmy, we disagreed on just about every single thing ever. But I can personally vouch for your fighting spirit and your enthusiasm, and I can admire, after all these years, your advocacy for your constituents and your passion for the positions you took. So I wish you the best of luck in your retirement, and I wish everybody just this holiday season, peace on earth and goodwill to all. Thanks.
Thank you. I just have a couple items. First, I had the opportunity to watch the zoning hearing board through our public access channel the other night, and I think there's room for improvement in terms of the witnesses that testify. And Dave, I don't know whether you can get together with our IT folks, but I think people need to be mic'd that are making any comments that aren't at the podium. So I don't know whether we can figure out how to get remote mics. And to the extent that we can zoom in on exhibits, that would be helpful too. But it's hard it's hard to follow if you can't hear the conversation. I think that's obviously more important than the exhibits themselves, but I think having people mic'd is very important. I too would like to thank Jim McGarity. I think the common theme has been he's been a great advocate for his constituents. I don't think anybody can dispute that. He's just a fighter for every big issue, and it doesn't matter the size of the issue, big or small. He was a fighter. So, Jimmy, thank you for that. And also, I think people don't really appreciate the role that you played in the whole Haverford State development. So I know that you and Ken Richardson, there was a time when there was a dispute with the state and basically the deal had fallen apart. And had it not been for you and Ken Richardson, a lot of people have taken credit. Brian, you know this, for what's happened at Haverford State, but it wouldn't have happened without Ken Richardson and Jim McGarity. And that's all I have. So we'll give you the last word, Jimmy.
Okay, well, I just want to thank everybody that was here tonight. A lot of my friends came back from the past, and I can't thank them enough. I'm not going to go through names because if you skip one, then, they feel hurt. But it's been great working here with the Board of Commissioners and with the Township of Haverford. It's really been a fascinating trip. I mean, there's been days where we were going at each other, cats and dogs, and there's other days where you pat the guy on the back and say, hey, how you doing today? But I just want to say that I learned a lot. I think through, for instance, Larry Gentile, he learned to calm my temper down a little, and thank you for that, Larry.
You help him with his?
Who calmed Larry down?
But no, I really, you go to people in this township, whether it's the police department, whether it's all the firemen, whether it's just the people like Amy and the heads of departments and the workers, it's just been great. I mean, truthfully, you can't have everything your way, and I didn't get everything my way, but I got a lot my way, and it was through the thanks of a lot of those people. It wasn't because it was Jimmy McGarity getting it. It was those people that helped me get through all that. And Larry, you were a big part of that. Dave's been a part of that. Andy on the board here, he's been great to me, and the rest of the board members have been great to me. Holmesy and I, we do go at it a little, every now and again. I got to throw that in, but, but that's enjoyable. Larry likes that too, So anyway, I wish all my constituents and everybody out there Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Hanukkah, and God bless you all. And thank you for all your years of supporting me. Thank you.
Any other business to come before this board? If not, happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we stand adjourned. Thank you.